Good morning, good morning. Welcome to another Candy Cars and Coffee, where if you're a car guy that wants to learn about his car and performance, you're in the right place. Because today's topics, Travis wanted to know about trail braking, when to use trail, what it is and when to use it. So we're going to talk about that. And then Tim Tomasak and some others want to know more about driving gloves and shoes. So we got more on that. In fact, I called a good friend of mine who actually is the rep for Impact Safety Equipment. And we had a nice conversation. He sent some stuff for us for our show and tell. And then this is kind of interesting. I had a 15-minute consult with Dave Carver this week about his shocks and springs and non-coilover packages, and it kind of sent me on down a path that we're going to talk more about non-coilover spring and shock options for you guys. Unfortunately, we have to open a little bit of a sad note this morning, as the Mustang faithful has lost one of their all-time heroes. Gale Haldeman passed away this week, and for those that don't know, Gale is the original designer on the original Mustang. And the original Mustang came from a sketch that Dale made in actually July 1962 that kind of gave the basic outline for the Mustang, and he saw the Mustang through the original design. He also was around for most of the Mustang history. He was part of the Fox design program too, so I mean, he's been around a long time. And like I say, he's going to be missed. I mean, he's a really cool guy and a really smart guy, so we're sorry to hear that, and certainly our condolences go off to his family and all the Mustang people. So, moving right along, as you know, I like to answer questions. You send in questions and I'll answer them, because I like to talk about what you guys want to know about. Oh, I see all those heart-shaped wrenches going up there and thumbs. Cool, you guys are awesome. So I call these quick hitters, except they're not so quick sometimes. But Tim Wilson highly recommends high-quality driving shoe. Absolutely agree, and we're going to discuss a little bit more of that as we go along. Now, Kobe Ward asked my thoughts on aftermarket pedal covers that offer more traction. I'm kind of mixed on that. You know, the majority of the aftermarket pedal covers have more to do with aesthetic than actual function. And the thing is, if you actually go down that route, what you want to look for is a pedal cover that doesn't have like chrome and rubber on it. That's metal with a lot of like teeth and conforms exactly to the pedal, because you have to bolt that to the pedal. And whatever size screws come with it, oversized as much as you can get. You know, because I've seen people, you know, in the past that have had like fancy pedal covers, and they go to hit the brakes, and you know, the thing snaps off, and all of a sudden they're just going crazy. So my recommendation is, rather than pedal covers, get a good pair of driving shoes, which is part of our subject today. So that's a very timely question. And then Ernie wants to know about lightning flywheel or aluminum flywheels. Are they worth the money? Short answer is yes, and the reason is because the steel flywheel and clutch is rotating mass. I mean, that's rotating mass, and the reason it's heavy is to kind of keep the motor going in all situations, like when you slow down or start up. You've got that rotational mass keeps the motor going. Now, by going to like aluminum flywheel or a lightning flywheel, what happens is you're reducing that rotating mass significantly, and which means it's going to spin easier. Just think about if you had like a 24-inch wheel of steel that's about half an inch thick in the handle, and on a pin you go to turn that, and it's going to take some effort to get it going, and then when you let go, it's going to keep going. If you had like a quarter-inch piece of aluminum, same thing. All of a sudden, that's easier to spin, and it's not going to spin as fast or as long. So what that means in reality is it lets your engine rev a lot faster. It lets the RPMs come down faster, especially when you're downshifting. On Kermie, I had a billet aluminum flywheel and billet clutch. And as we got through my son Paul's program, there was a Tiger clutch, but unfortunately that company was bought by somebody else, and they don't have the same clutch anymore, and they're really hard to deal with. What we've been using is we've switched over to Quartermaster. I use Quartermaster for our racing clutches, because what's really cool is they don't really have a flywheel. What they use is like a automatic flex plate. I don't know if you've seen those, or just a thin piece of metal. and they've got the clutch is either 7-inch or 8. It bolts right to that for the racing clutch. However, what they have done, and this is pretty recent, they've come out with a aluminum clutch, a lightweight clutch, super heavy duty, that'll take up to like 1,000 horsepower, specifically for the Coyote motors. And it's a twin disc, and the cool thing is the pedal pressure is pretty much like a stock clutch. So it's like tremendous capability, and it feels like a stock clutch, because sometimes these heavy duty clutches, they really got to put your foot into them because the springs are so tight. But in this case, it's pretty cool. I mean, we haven't used them yet because they're brand new, but I have every faith in a Quartermaster, because like I say, we've been using their racing clutches for years. So yeah, it spins up faster and it unspins faster, so when you're downshifting. However, I got to issue a word of warning. On the Coyote motors, if you put a lightweight clutch and flywheel in there, you may have to have the engine recalibrated. Because what we found with Ruby when we first put a light clutch in is that I'd start out like say Autobahn, for example, on the full course, I start out and all the way through turn 1, turn 2, I pick up a misfire, and then by turn 4 it clears up and goes away. Well, we couldn't figure out what it was, and it ended up being that somehow the engine wasn't recognizing the mass of the flywheel, and the engine was revving too fast, so it sent out a misfire code. And there's a trick that you have to go to like a Ford dealer or somebody's got like a good tuning tool where you actually have to like rev the motor up and let it go down like several times so that the processor can learn the new mass of the flywheel. So if you do go to a light flywheel, you're going to notice a difference instantly on how quick the motor revs and how much better it is like for downshifting. But again, you may have to go and have the processor recalibrated for that super light mass. So there's your answer. Yes. Ernie had another question on control arms. I don't know if we'll get to it today. If not, we'll get to it next week. There's still time to vote on whether you want Kenny Cars and Coffee or Cars and Coffee with Kenny. Unfortunately, Carrie's Cars and Coffee with Kenny is in the lead right now in voting, but there's still time for my Kenny Cars and Coffee. I'm getting my tongue tied up now. So you can still vote for either Kenny Cars and Coffee as the title or Cars and Coffee with Kenny. And like I say, unfortunately, Carrie's in the lead, but that doesn't mean we can't catch up. So, she's going to pull ahead even further. So send in your votes. Oh, yeah. In case you guys are just joining us, I'm Kenny Brown, and this is Kenny Cars and Coffee. And for this hour, what I'm going to do is I'm trying to share.
Coffee and
no, it's Kenny Cars and Coffee right now. We haven't changed it yet. Where I try to share my extensive, like 40-plus years of building race cars, street cars, track cars, and my motorsports, and trying to transfer some of the information to you guys via the questions that you ask. Because, like I say, I talk about what you guys want to know about. So I think with that, we're going to move into our first topic, which is the shoes and gloves. I kind of mentioned this briefly last week, and the question kind of caught me off guard, actually. And somebody asked what we do. Well, we used to carry OMP, but they're not on our website. And the reason is we don't do that much with OMP anymore, just some things. But then I started thinking, now, wait a second. Impact is right here in Indianapolis, and the field rep for Impact is a good friend of mine. We've known Ben for 25 years or so. He used to be with Bear Brakes, then he went to Impact. So I just called him up and I said, my guys want to know more about shoes and gloves. So he gave me kind of like a little overview of his stuff, his shoes and gloves, and then he sent some to me for me to show you guys. But in review, remember I said I've got my trusty old gloves. These are No Fear gloves that I can't remember how long I've had. I've had these for years and years. I looked online to see if they're still available, and the only place you can find them is in auctions with like famous drivers' names on them. Like there was one like Rick Mears is on it. So I mean, these are like top level pro gloves. The only thing I can think of is maybe a long time ago I got it from Boris said, because he was like a no-fear guy back then, but I just can't remember. Anyway, that's a really good glove. It's got the leather palms, so it grip the wheel, and I strongly recommend gloves because your hands won't get tired. You have a better grip on the wheel. They don't accidentally slip if your palms get sweaty, especially the beginning guys. When you first start doing driving schools, I mean, you're like death grip on the wheel. And it isn't until you do more and more of them, and that's not bad. I mean, that's what everybody does. It isn't until more and more that your grip relaxes some. But either way, having a glove on, a good driving glove, makes a huge difference in the feel. And then we talked about my shoes that are really, I don't know how old these are, but I like them. I've had them for a long time. But you can see just how thin, you can see just how thin the sole is. And you can also see they're just about worn out. Having that thin sole that's where you get the feel on the brake and the gas and the clutch. Because everything you do in driving, and we'll talk about this more in the future, is feel. You have to feel the car. You and the car have to be like one entity. And you feel through the steering wheel, you feel through your feet, and you feel through your butt. So we'll talk about that more in some upcoming things, but shoes are really important. And that gets back to Kobe's question on the aftermarket pedal things. I would rather have a good set of driving shoes than trust a pedal thing that's bolted to the pedals that might fall off. And with that, we'll go into what Ben, he said, hey, I'll send you some stuff so you can show these guys what it's all about. So I'm going to start with some gloves. And these are the Impacts. These are the kind of like their entry-level glove. It's called the G6. And it's pretty comfortable. And it's there's two kinds of driving gloves, internal seam and external seam. And this is an internal seam, which means it's seamed on the inside. But if you look, it's got these nice little suede type patches to grip the steering wheel. And that's important. And it's pretty comfortable. It's kind of like you put it on, and my hands are just naturally curved just by putting it on. That's kind of an entry-level glove, and I think, I got to look this up, these are like $85. And then when you get more into upper-level gloves, this is called the Alpha, and you can see this is externally sewn, so the stitches are on the outside. But once again, you've got this real sticky stuff for the palm to grip the steering wheel. And something interesting about these is when I put them on, my hand just naturally gets curved. I don't know if they're made like that or just the way it feels, but I'm already ready to grip the steering wheel. So there's a couple of different types of gloves, internally stitched and externally stitched. And the interesting thing is, my no fears are internally stitched, but I don't feel stitches. So a good internally stitched glove, and you're not going to feel any stitches. And then he sent some shoes. So let's start with Apex. Now this is a really interesting driving shoe, because this is what Ben said is they call their entry level. And the reason for that, well, first of all, you can see that the sole is a little bit thicker than on mine, but look at that tread pattern. That's pretty aggressive. And these are just, I can see them. But interesting thing about this, the reason it's got a thicker sole is for the entry-level guy, because you can also not only drive with them, but wear them around the pits, so you don't have to change shoes every time. It's got a thick enough sole that you can walk around the pits. Now, on mine, I've got to change shoes because I can feel every single rock and stone when I walk across the pits, and it's not that comfortable. So I have to change shoes every time. So this is kind of like a cool entry level that you can, it's a good driving shoe, plus it's got enough sole that you can kind of walk around the pits and not hurt your feet. And then move up a little bit on the scale. And this is called the Phenom. This is where you're getting into real, professional grade driving shoes. And once again, if you can see it, look at that sole. See how thin that is? That's so you get the feel. It also has leather on the side for scuffing, and it's got the toe for scuffing. And it's got kind of interesting, this is not slippery at all. I mean, it's kind of like a little perforated. It's some sort of rubber or vinyl or something, but if you try to rub my hand, it's pretty grippy. So that's the Phenom, and that kind of goes up when you started getting into your professional grade shoes. So there's a couple of options that, the Apex and then the Phenom. And I think looking at my notes, I always have to have notes. The Axis is like a $100 shoe, so that's pretty reasonable for driving shoes. In fact, real reasonable for driving shoes. Plus, you can wear it in the pits. And then the Phenom, getting into professional level, that's like $259. In between is the Alpha, which is kind of a bridge between the entry and getting into professional grade, and that's like $180. And then the gloves, the G6 is $85. The Axis is, I don't have an Axis, but the Axis is $129. The Alpha is like $169. Now, I was telling Ben about this program and about our Speech Therapy Society, and he said he wants to give our Speech Therapy Society people a 10% discount on any impact stuff that you see. So if you're interested, let us know. He said the offer is good through Memorial Day.
On Kenny Brown website.
Oh, on.
They get to sign up for speed therapy?
Oh, yeah, sign up for speed therapy because the code is going to be in the Speech Therapy Society. And the Speech Therapy Society is growing. I mean, it's you guys are cool. I mean, there's a lot of good information. That's where I get most of my questions from, the Speech Therapy Society. So, if you're not a member, please join. You're going to find a lot of like-minded people. And like I say, that's where most of my questions come from. And you guys can send any questions right now.
It's on It's a Facebook group.
It's a private Facebook group. See, I have to have a coach. I can't always remember this stuff. Coffee. So that's kind of like a little overview on entry level up to like more professional grade shoes and gloves and what to look for. And you don't have to buy Impact. I'm just saying that these are available, and Ben's going to give us a discount. But you look at any other brand out there, look for the same thing. If it's an entry level shoe, look for something that's got a little thicker sole, so you can walk around the pits with it. Because a lot of times you're going to want to jump out of the car or maybe take tire temperatures or pop the hood, and you're not going to have time to change your shoes. But of course, if you've got the Phenoms and you want to move up to professional level, then you just step out of the car and change shoes and let your crew run around the car and fix everything. That's what I try to do anyway. So, okay, that's shoes and gloves, and both of them are even for starting out people. I highly recommend them. And that also goes back to Kobe's question. I'd rather see you get a good pair of driving shoes than trust a bolt-on pedal cover for more grip. And also, if you've got an older car and your pedals are starting to wear a little bit, I mean, you can certainly get replacement rubber to put on top of them, because I'd recommend that too. Because it's a great point. You have to have good grip on your brakes and your accelerator and your clutch for that matter. So the next subject is non-coilover options for people that just aren't quite ready to move up to like our coilover packages. Like I said, all the cars that I build, I use coilovers because I can adjust the spring rate and I can adjust the ride height. And when we're building custom cars for people, I always I select the spring rates that's specific to their application and how they're going to use the car and what their level of driving experience is. I'm not going to put a novice driver on a real high spring rate because he's not going to learn much. You need to start on like a lower rate and then move up. But however, for people that aren't really ready for that maybe only do 1 or 2 track days a year, I've called my Lee Grimes down at Conan. Lee's another guy I know maybe 25 years or so. I haven't talked to him for a while, and he's not in customer stuff anymore. He's kind of like moved up. He's kind of like a big wheel now, but that happens. But anyway, I really had a nice conversation with him, and what spurred it is Dave had already bought a set of the Coney STRs, which is kind of like their street shock. It's got in the valving, it's got a little blow off, which means for these little bumps and cracks, the valving will blow off a little bit, so you don't get the jar. It creates a much better ride. So I called Lee because Dave wants to lower his car and get a little more feel and performance. And I talked to Lee. I actually had 2 conversations with him. I had one and then another about those shocks, the spring rates we're running, and And initially, I talked to him. I told Dave that yeah, he said it would be okay, but sports would be better. And another conversation with him, he said, yeah, he'd be real comfortable with the spring rates I'm talking about. So, Dave, if you're out there, what I'd like to do is let's have you try my touring springs with the shocks you have, and then report back to us. Tell us how it feels, how it works, whether you like it or not. Because I think that's you've already got the shocks. I've got a spring rate that's going to work with it. My second conversation with Lee, he said he's pretty comfortable with the spring rate. So let's go ahead and try that, and then you can report back to us on how it works. But kind of moving up, looking at the springs I've got available, and with the Coney Sports, have a really broad range of valving and adjustment. So again, talking with Lee, and he's super comfortable with the spring rates I'm talking about. So what I've come up with is we can package for you guys a Coney Sport and then a spring specific to your application. Now, we're not going to be able to get the spring rates like we run on our intermediate and advanced track cars, but it's going to be a good spring rate. We're going to do it in like 3 stages. There's going to be like a touring, which is the springs are going to be pretty much what we used to use in the Fox cars a long time ago, real close to that. So it's going to be a good all-around touring. And then there's another spring. It's a little more what I'm going to call a sport touring, for that matter, sport touring autocross maybe. And then another spring we're going to call street performance, and which will also be with a 423 to 472. It'll be great novice, even up intermediate track day spring. So I mean the advantages of the Coneys and the springs is the price point. It's going to be a whole lot less than the coilovers. But the only downside is the ride height it is the ride height it is. And for all of these, basically we're looking at anywhere from an inch to inch and 3/4 lowering of the car. And I say between because every car weight's different, and so that's going to impact the springs. So I'm going to have a touring, sport touring, and a street performance / track day spring combination for both the SN95s and the S197s, along with Coney Sport, Yellow's Coney Sports, which are, years and years ago we used a lot of Coneys. In fact, I went back into our old accounting program to see which Coneys we actually used, and I got so confused. We have over 70 Coney numbers in our systems. That tells you how many Coneys we used way back when. So it's a great shock. It's been around for a long time, and I think they're lifetime warranty. So
I have a question related to that.
Okay, question related to that. Time to drink coffee.
Sure. Alan Bell, he said I'm running Suspension Techniques 825 springs up front and 450 springs in the rear on Tokiko Aluminum's 5-way adjustable with a torque arm. Is this good for a track setup? 15 minute?
Yeah, I think that's you need to call in and let's set up a 15-minute conference consultation call on that, because you're kind of like down a path that I don't go, and I probably need to talk to you on a basis, because we don't use the Tokikos. The springs, I think, what did he say,
825
825
and 450.
825 and 450. The springs aren't too bad, but then the torque arm, if you've listened to previous ones, I don't use a torque arm. I think I have much better control of the rear geometry suspension with a 3-link. But if this is SN95, a torque arm is about the only way you can go for right now. I'm a long way down on my my wish list to develop is a new 4-link rear suspension. That's more than a year off. I've wanted to do that for a long time because there hasn't been a decent suspension for Fox SN95 since the torque arm came out, and that's years ago. And the torque arm isn't anything new. It first appeared on, I think, the 1924 Bugatti, so it's been around for a long time. But anyway, yeah, if you've got a Fox or an SN95, that's your only real option, and I can kind of talk to you about that and sort of how to make that work best for you. So yeah, call in and we'll set you up with a 15-minute consult, and that's upside down. Oh yeah, in case you're just joining us, I'm Kenny Brown. This is Kenny Cars and Coffee. As of yet, we haven't tallied all the votes. And I'm here every Saturday morning from 11 o'clock to around 12 to kind of transfer to you my extensive knowledge of building cars, motorsports, racing, and answer your questions, because I answer the questions you ask because I talk about what you want me to talk about. And so here's a question. Carrie wants to know, what's the first event you're going to do as soon as you can get your handcuffs off and get out into the world? Now, I know in some parts of the country that's already happening, and that's a great thing. And in fact, today it's yesterday it's a gorgeous day in Indy. Today it's going to be nice. So we're going to kind of like sneak out and just go for a drive this afternoon, just to get out of almost like solitary confinement. But staying safe, which is the important thing. That's first. So yeah, let us know what your first event's going to be when you can break out of this, and I think it'll be interesting for other people too. So we talked about the springs. On the S550s. Let's kind of look at a different situation. I can't find any decent springs like off-the-shelf springs with decent spring rates. Unfortunately, the wrong page. I think the standard GT has like a 160 front, and the performance package has a 165, which is a little more. GT350s are 194, and the 350Rs are 240. But I started looking, and what's typically available is anything from like 182 up to 200. And I mean, if it's just a touring car, yeah, we can set you up a set of conies and some 200-pound front springs. But if you want a little more than that, then we've got a street performance package. It's a coilover but non-adjustable, so you do get the adjustable ride height. It's got a really nice spring rate for street performance and track, like a 395 front and a 735 rear, which is pretty decent. Interesting thing I found with the S550 cars, you can actually run more spring for novice drivers than we could in the S197 or SN95s, and I think this has to do with the weight of the car, and then also it's got a lot better suspension. So that's just kind of something we've run across. So there's some options. If you guys are interested, get a hold of me. We can I can put a package together for you. Along with for the SN95 and 190 and SN95 and 197s, we've got our Caster Plus camber plates, which I should have. Next week I'll show you one. What I've done with that is a long time ago. We were like getting these other people's camber plates because I didn't want to take time to develop one. We could buy them pretty cheap. And what I found is that that every single one, we just put the top of the strut all the way back for maximum caster. And I thought, well, this is a big waste of money. So we developed what we call Caster Plus, and by making the caster fixed, like there's no caster adjustment, we just moved the strut even further back. We picked up anywhere from a half a degree to almost a degree on some cars of extra caster. And what we've talked about before, more caster is great. Mustangs love positive caster. It gives you really good high-speed stability for one, but also what people don't realize, it actually gives you better turn-in because it starts to overcome the natural suspension wants to be a positive roll. So when the car rolls, the tire goes at the top of the tire, it'll go out and be positive, so you wear out the outside of the tire. And by adding more caster, it's not going to roll as quick. It's going to add just a teeny bit of camber in turn, which is better. So like I say, we just eliminated all that, and we call it Caster Plus, more caster, less bucks. So I'll show you one of those next week because we got them for SN95 and 127. On the 550s though, we actually use one of our partners' camber caster plates because I just haven't had the time to to come up with something for that, and for right now that's working pretty good. So that's we can set you up with springs and shocks, and of course if you want to be more aggressive, we do coilovers. In fact, I talked to was it Chris I talked to this week on shocks. I talked to Chris. He had this about his second or third 15-minute consult talking about the JRZs, and I talked to those before. That's kind of like our premium coilover package, because it's just this short of racing shocks, because like most of the coilovers in the States are a street shock that have kind of like been moved up to be like a track shock, where the JRZs are, their primary business is real race shocks. And what they've done is they've come up with the RS series, which is kind of like for street performance, for track days, even for club racing, that actually uses the same technology as the race shocks. And I can tell you the race shocks run anywhere from $9,000 a set to $2,500 per shock. So, I mean, these are really top-end guys when it comes to racing shocks. But anyway, I talked to Chris, and he wanted double adjustable. And, you know, if you're going to go to the double adjustable in the RS line, RS has like a single adjustable, which we use the most of. My car Ruby had a single adjustable. It's like the shock to start with if you've never adjusted shocks before, because you can learn just by making one adjustment what shocks do when you adjust them. But he wants to do a shock like forever. So he's looking at what's going to be the shock that he can grow with him since forever. So he was looking at a double adjustable JRZ, and then if you're going to do the double adjustable, you might as well go to the remote canister. Now, the difference between a regular double adjustable and a remote canister is two things. The regular double adjustable is still a twin tube shock, and you adjust the bump on the bottom, rebound on top. But with the RS Pro, it's actually a monotube shock, which means you hang upside down. But the remote canister is the bump adjustment, so you don't have to crawl under the car to make the adjustment. You put the remote canister. You've probably seen these on race cars. You can put it under the hood, or you can put it into the under the trunk. So anyway, we talked to that, and he's going to make some options that'll put it like, start at this short of a racing shock. He's going to be about that short of a racing shock. It's going to be a shock you can use forever. So, do we have questions?
Yes, we do.
I'm missing my notes. The 5-day workshop's coming up. We have a lot to do, so we're going to let you know when it's going to be, because with this virus thing, we're really short-staffed, and there's a lot of work to be done, and we're the back work. My part's easy. I mean, I just get up and talk, but the back part to make it all work it just isn't quite ready yet. And Carrie's actually brought somebody on to help her with this, so we can move that along. And what it's going to be is 1 hour each night for 5 nights, and the title is Transforming Your Driving Experience. You can sign up for it in the Speed Therapy Society. And if you're not in the Speed Therapy Society, Carrie can sign you up a different way.
If you're not on Facebook.
If you're not a Facebook person, let me put it that way. You're not a Facebook person, Carrie can get you signed up a different way. And if you're not a Facebook person, you can watch all these reruns. Reruns, I'm into reruns now. Reruns on either in the Speed Therapy Society or Kenny Brown TV, on YouTube, Kenny Brown TV. So I'm ready for some questions.
Sure.
You know, I'm gonna throw in Ernie's other question here. We've got a little bit of time. Ernie wanted to know, I didn't get the trail braking.
No, the most important thing.
Yeah, most important thing, trail braking for Travis. Okay, trail braking. What is trail braking? Well, trail braking is trail braking. When you're driving, you're taught in the driving schools and classes, you get all your braking done in a straight line. Get the car woe down in a straight line, get it set, make your turn in, get into the corner, and then start feeding gas and get your track out. Well, what trail braking is, and it's a technique of braking when you're turning. Now, if you're not doing trail braking and you're trying to brake when you turn, like, bad things will happen. Either the front or the back's going to go away on you. So you never want to kind of start braking in the middle of a turn. Most of the back will go away. But what trail braking is braking into a corner. So it's like if your foot's on the brake and your hand's on the wheel, as you're turning into a corner, the foot start coming up slowly and slowly. So it's kind of like a relationship between steering wheel and brake foot, so that you're just very, very gradually coming off the brake, turning into a corner. It's kind of like a technique that certain corners it works really well. A number of years ago, I was at Mid-Ohio, I think, and I had like another instructor with me, and we were doing hot laps, and he said, "Boy, you do really great trail braking." Like I didn't even know I was doing it. It's just something that was very natural for me. So the thing is with the S197s with ABS, trail braking becomes a lot easier because ABS is going to keep you from locking up any wheels. But again, what trail braking is as your wheel turns, your foot starts coming off the brake in relationship to how much you turn. So you're turning into a corner, you can brake a little bit later and then be trailing off the brake. That's called trail braking, trailing off the brake as you're turning in. It's something I wouldn't recommend you go out and do it because it's not appropriate for every corner. I like it mostly for kind of like fast corners that aren't too sharp. So I can keep a really good momentum when I get to the apex. So it's something to try and practice, but it's until you're into like intermediate or advanced, I don't think I'd try it. You stick with if you're novice, intermediate, stick with your braking in a straight line, get the car set, make your turn in, find your apex, get back to the gas, and track out. And as we've talked before, corner exit speed is absolutely everything. I mean, that's where it is for speed. You want to improve your lap times, improve your corner exit speed. And we'll go over that in the workshop. And that's kind of like what I engineered my geometry about for S197 is that corner exit. It's also late braking and corner exit because that's how the Mustangs work the best. So then,
how does that work on the street?
Pardon?
How does that work on the street?
What, trail braking?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I do it on the street. Carrie asked how that would work on the street, and I don't think I'd try to do that in the street unless you're in an extreme situation. It's a technique. It's easier in an ABS car. It's a lot harder without ABS because you really have to get the coordination down between foot and hand. So as trail braking, and you want to know what corners at Road America are good for trail braking. I was thinking about that. Maybe turn one, because that's kind of like a fast corner that you can. It's got a lot of room to kind of break into. Plus, if you screw up on the exit, there's kind of room to go off. I think that's almost it. I mean, the rest of the corners, 3, you wouldn't do that there. 5 is a hard left-hander. 6 at the top of the hill, you wouldn't do that. 7, that's kind of hardly braking, and down into 8. I mean, you want to bury the nose of the car into 8 to get it set, and then the turn and the carousel. You're not braking the carousel. It's kind of like you got to have that momentum around the middle, just on the gas, just to kind of get the car balanced, so it just kind of skates around. And then the kink, you don't brake at the kink. If you screw up the kink, though, it'll bite you 200 yards down the track. And then Canada again is not a corner I think I trail brake in. Maybe the last corner 14 for the straightaway. But I mean, you've got to have a corner that's got a lot of room, and you carry some pretty good speed to do to make trail braking work. I mean, otherwise, for the most part, I would stick to straight line braking, get the car set, and then turn in. I can get to Ernie's other question now.
Yeah, but do you want to do a couple here and then
a couple here.
Sure. So Jim Flattery would like you to repeat the hand position on steering wheels when on track.
Okay. Jim Flattery wants to know hand position on steering wheels on track. So we're going to make this kind of official. Somehow I just picked out right in that left-hand glove. So, okay, if you're driving, now everybody sees like the pictures of Formula 1 guys, they got their hands on top, tuck down the car, they're driving like that. And everybody wants to start driving with their hands up here and grasping the steering wheel really hard. Well, an exercise to try is extend your hands fully. I go back up. And just go like this, like you're turning the wheel. And just feel, the muscles in your shoulder and arms. I actually drive with my hands on the bottom of the steering wheel. Like about
4 and 8.
4 and 8-ish in there. And the reason for that is just take your hands, put down there, and try going like this. Absolutely no effort to it at all. I mean, there's just no effort. I can be much smoother down there, and then I don't turn the wheel and turn back. I'll kind of shuffle the wheel between two hands, When I want to turn, I'll turn up a little bit. If I need to turn more, I'll just shuffle down a little bit so I keep my hands on the bottom. But rarely will I get it more than about there. It's a very unique corner that I'll get my hands at more there. But if you put your hands on the bottom, I mean, you can try this exercise and it's going to blow you away. You just go like, I got to back up. You just kind of go like this and see what it feels like, and then go like this. And going like this is going to just absolutely wear you out. And that's the last thing you want to do is get worn out, because you get worn out and tired, you make mistakes. Speaking of mistakes, on track days, when you guys do track days, I'll talk about this more in the future, but here's how you approach a track. I approach a track day, and I strongly recommend you do it the same way. The very first morning of the first day, I work on nothing but car setup. We work on tire temperatures. We get a tire temperature set. Then we work on camber and any other adjustments we want to make, because we make the entire first day just working on car setup. The first morning working on car setup. And it's kind of like you do that, and you do some of these, hot dog guys are going to flying past you, think, oh, pretty cool, I passed that guy. And what a tugger he is. But once you get that car set up, I mean, I'll spend the morning getting it set up, and then come the afternoon, I mean, I'm a rocket ship. And those guys that thought they were really cool and passed me while I was trying to work on car setup, I mean, I go past them so fast, they're like a little cartoon guy spinning around. So that's important. And what's interesting is the last session of the second morning typically is your best session of the weekend. For some reason, it works out that's your best session of the weekend. After lunch on the second day, on Sunday, it's going to get not as good. Every session is going to be not quite as good. So I recommend people in the afternoon, second day, don't go balls out. Work on technique, work on your braking, your placement, your apex, all that kind of stuff. And when you get to the last session, the last day, knock it down to 70%, because over the years, more incidents happen in the last session of the second day than the entire rest of the weekend combined. The reason is because a lot of people get tired. They've been really fast in the mornings. They think they can be really fast in the afternoon, but they don't really. They got fatigue. Their muscles are tired, their brain's tired, and a lot of mistakes are made. So, first morning, car setup. Afternoon, just kick everybody's ass. Morning, kick everybody's ass. Be really good the last session in the morning. In the afternoon, every session after lunch, just knock it down just a little bit and just focus on technique. And the last session of the day is just like fast cool-off laps to me. I don't go fast, and just like a fast cool-off lap. Just think about what a great weekend it was, and I like this corner. And I can maybe go. It's interesting when you go slower, you see things that you don't see when you're going fast. So that the last session, last day, when you slow down, you go, oh man, I could have done that different. And so next time you come to that track, you can learn more. Anyway, there's little driving stuff. Again, sign up in the Speed Therapy Society.
And what's in the class? Have you gone over what's in the class yet?
Oh, I haven't gone over what's in the class. And I've actually been working on this. I've got some curriculum written out, and I look at the 5 days and what we're trying to do, and as far as transforming your driving experience, I'm looking, man, how am I going to get all this in? So I'm going to try. I'm trying to squeeze a lot of information into 5 days. But the first day is going to be like the first crucial step of transforming your driving experience, and that's planning and thinking about what you're doing. And we're going to talk about things that people don't normally think about that are really important. The second day is building a performance platform. And the first day we'll talk about the performance platform, because that is, if you're building a track car, performance platform is everything. Forget about engine power, forget about any added power things. Get the performance platform set up first, because you do that right, and you're going to find you might not need that extra power. At Road America, which is like a big horsepower track, between 3 and 5 at Road America, I fly past GT500s, with like almost twice the horsepower I have, because I'm better through the corner, and I'm better at mid-corner, and I have a lot better corner exit speed, which means I don't need as much horsepower to get down the straightaway as they do, because they're starting from scratch and they can't get that power down. And I have to wait to get the power down, where I'm just flat on and gone. So performance platform is everything. And day 2 is going to be Performance Platform Part 1. That's going to be handling, suspension, and suspension geometry. And then day 3 is going to be Performance Platform Part 2, which is going to be brakes, wheels, and tires, and some cooling and safety. And what we don't get, that will carry over into day 4. And in day 4, we're going to talk about dialing the car in for maximum driving experience. And in day 5, we're going to talk about tricks and tips that I can share with you, and also some car preparation, and then that's going to be some Q&As to answer some of your questions. So, I mean, I've got Mario kind of writing out my outline and going, oh man. So I might have to talk like really fast, like one of those TV commercial guys. We're going to talk about this today, but I don't think I can do that. So again, Transforming Driving Experience, Speed Therapy Society will let you know the date when we're prepared, because right now we're just not prepared. Like I say, this virus thing is just really cramping into everything because we're short-staffed and there's long hours, just not enough hours in a day right now.
Here's the people that I'm going to read some of the people where they're going to go first after.
Okay, listen up. This is where people are going to go first.
Yeah. So Dan Grams is going to go to Black Hawk Farms for an SCCA event. Alan Bell is going to go to Audubon Raceway.
I'll go to Audubon. I know both those tracks well.
Yeah. And Mark Hassenberg, Road America, of course, with the Northwest Shelby Club on May 23rd and 24th. In fact, they just opened up that date. If anybody's interested.
Yeah, the Northwood Shelby Club opened up the date for 23rd
and 24th at Road America.
23rd and 24th at Road America, although it's advanced drivers only. Because there's not going to be any real structure. It's going to be just kind of like a test and tune. So if you're an advanced driver, you actually have to have criteria to even let you in. I've heard there's like a whole bunch of interest in that. So you can go to the Northwood Shelby Club website and find out more information about that. And that's where Dan's going to go. And Mark is going to go. Mm-hmm. Interesting thing about Mark, he's got a GT350, and he was having overheating issues. The car's running hot. So we kind of hooked him up with one of our triple pass, triple thick aluminum radiators. It's a direct OE replacement, and we've got a video somewhere I talk about all the features of it, and it's really cool. I mean, it works super well. Triple pass means normal pass. I mean, on a Mustang radiator, the water comes in here, comes out there. So it's kind of a single pass. The water kind of like moves through the radiator. Mostly it's going to move on diagonal rather than fill the entire radiator up. And then in racing, there's a lot of race cars that have what's called a dual pass. That's where the water comes in the top, makes a U-turn, and comes out the bottom of the same side. Well, in some race cars, that's pretty practical. In Mustang, it's not. Remember, we got inlet and outlet different places. So we came up with a triple pass, which means it comes across, makes a U-turn, comes across, makes a U-turn, and goes out. That means rather than a regular radiator where the inlet and outlet are like this, and the water's going to take the path of least resistance, and certainly it's going to fill the whole radiator, but a lot of the water is mostly going to run at a diagonal right through there. So the efficiency of a normal radiator is like okay, but not great. But with a triple pass, you get all the water getting cooled all the way through 3 times. Anyway, Mark put one of our triple pass radiators in, dropped his engine water temperature 30 degrees. That's a ton. And the report he did kind of like a how-to. And he said that the radiator, dropping the radiator in was the easiest part. On a GT350, getting to the radiator, that's where all the work is. So if you get a GT350, one of these radiators, it'll drop your, even GT track day, it'll drop your water temperature like crazy. On a GT350, my understanding, and you can check with Mark on this, is like getting to it is the hard part. So anyway, I took a little diversion from Mark on Road America.
Okay, and let's see, Dan Gramza, who is, I think he's in the Netherlands, and he has a Mustang, I think an SN95 Mustang. He's inviting us all over there to drive with him. I have to confirm where he's coming from.
Yeah, Dan, Kerry thinks Dan is maybe in the Netherlands, and he's inviting everybody to come drive with him.
And also, and Herstopher is also, he's in Bulgaria, so maybe we could hit Dan's Gramza and then go to...
Herstopher's in Bulgaria, so maybe we could do Dan Herstopher and then kind of like a great big tour, the World Driving Tour.
So Cliff Glidden his first event for 2020 is June 5th and 6th at Thunder Hill, 5 mile.
Thunderhill. I think I've been to Thunderhill in California.
Kobe Ward is Route 66 across Arizona. Ooh, that sounds fun.
Wow, driving Route 66 across Arizona. That would be really cool. Especially if you got like a touring package on your car and you can really feel it and enjoy it. That'd be really cool.
And Travis Weiser's Road America. He's attending that May event as well.
Travis is going to Road America.
Cliff Glidden. He's inviting us to. He's going to save a paddock spot for anybody that wants to join him on the June 5th, 6th event. So I think it sounds like everybody's out there inviting everybody. So that's cool. Thomas Eck's going to take us out of Winter Storage, put an H&R on. And then here is, I'm going to kind of get into some of the questions now. Jim Flattery, we already
Cliff's inviting us out to California track event. Cliff, you got to get the rear grip kit on before you go. Trust me, it's worth it.
And then we also have Wendy added some comments on the depth grip. That she teaches flying, so she said just to kind of lighten up when you're. This is back to your holding the wheel, where you're holding the wheel, to lighten up.
Yeah, lighten up and lighten up on the depth grip. I can tell you when you first start out, that is so hard. I mean, your heart's pounding. You're on a racetrack. You're going fast. Things are happening, and this is all new. And it's just, yeah, she's got a good point. Try to relax your hands, and then like when I said, instead of depth gripping the top, try to get them down to the bottom, and be more relaxed, because when you're relaxed, it's just easier to drive. I mean, I can drive all day with my hands down there and not get worn out.
And Ernie Abercrombie, June 12th through the 14th at Groton Raceway in Belding, Michigan.
Ernie's gone to Groton. I think years ago we used to call it Rotten Groton. It's kind of an interesting track. When I was working with Ford Racing, a while back, we did a lot of testing there. It's kind of got some real cool topography changes. But if I recall, at times it was kind of rough in spots. I'm sure that was years and years ago. I'm sure it's better now. But outside of that, it's kind of really cool, because you kind of like drop down to the bottom and come up over the hill. So it's got some really good, cool elevation changes. Okay, and then just a couple more. Edward Trinkner, I think we are going to run up at the Firm in Florida next Sunday, FIRM. I can't remember what that stands for, Florida International Raceway something. I'm not sure. Yeah, he's going to run at the Firm. Yeah, I've heard of it. You could send us some clarification on that so we know. We tell other people what it is. Carrie thinks it's the Florida International Raceway or something, so yeah. I think it's a private track. And Jeff Layson, this is where it is Nürburgring or Spa we can go to with him. Yeah, Jeff wants to go Nürburgring or Spa. Oh, man. What I wouldn't do to do that. I mean, especially Spa. I mean, Spa-Francorchamps, that has got to be one of my all-time favorite tracks I've never driven. I mean, that is just, what a track that is. He says everyone gets the yips the first couple of laps. Okay, and then here is, we have a lot of questions on tires right now, what tires to run. I think maybe since we're running out of time, we'll answer the tire questions next week. Okay, people are asking tire questions, and we're kind of running short on time, so I'll do the tire questions next week. I'm writing down. So send your tire questions in, and we'll make that one of the topics next week, along with other questions that come in. Now remember, everything I talked about today, it was based off of a question that you guys sent in, and you guys are awesome. I mean, we're doing really good. The thumbs up, the little heart-shaped wrenches really helped. Last week, our reach and views were just absolutely amazing, the best ever. And that's because we do these little thumb things and little heart things. So we really appreciate that. And then remember on the what Ben from Impact is offering, our Speed Therapy Society guys, a 10% discount on gloves. In fact, anything Impact. I mean, if you go on the Impact website and see something else that you'd like, call us and we'll get you set up. I mean, that's not a problem. Impact is like right on the other side of Indy. They've been here for a long time. Actually, it's the old Simpson company from long ago. Simpson changed from Simpson to Impact. So they've been building race stuff here for decades. And they're really close. And then, like I say, Ben's been close to us for, I'd say, at least 25 years. When he was back with Bear in the 90s, we were getting Bear stuff. And then he went to Impact. And then again, with the Conies, Lee was really helpful. He filled me in on some of what's going on with Coney lately. Again, somebody we've known since the 90s because we use so many Conies, and we can get you set up with a Coney package. Yeah, it's I'm here to help you guys make your driving experience better. And to me, that's getting the right equipment for the right application, and again, transforming your driving experience. Because we're going to want to go through the classes all about packaging and putting the whole package together. It's not one thing that makes a car quick; it's everything, and it's getting the right thing here, the right thing there, the right thing there. It's building systems. You build systems within systems, and then you end up with a final car that's a system that goes really well. Anybody who's driven one of my cars on track will tell you they just fly, and without any big power adders, just all chassis, the performance platform, everything. It gets your corner exit speed, and that's what you need. And we're going to do some other. And if we have some announcements coming up in maybe a month or so. That'll happen in the Speed Therapy Society as well.
So everything happens there, so
everything
join.
is going to be happening there. Again, it's our private group, Facebook group, Speed Therapy Society.
Invite your friends.
Yeah, invite your friends. We also somebody asked about stickers. Point well taken. Carrie's thinking, well, why don't we do like stickers and coffee cups and things like that? And after this virus thing settles down, we're going to approach that. And so if you want something that put some likes in, let us know. If you're up for some swag, some stickers, coffee cups, so you can have your Speed Therapy Society coffee cup in the morning, and maybe some other stuff. I mean, we'll just have to see what you guys are interested in. We'll go down that path. So just let us know.
I think that I'm going to end with this. I can't remember who mentioned this, but he's disappointed the picture on the wall has not changed yet. He's been looking forward to that.
Disappointed the picture on the wall has changed. It's every week we say we're going to move it so you can actually see it better. And we kind of we're so busy. Like I say, this virus thing's short staff, and we just haven't got to it. Well, you have just given me the inspiration that we have to. We'll move it next week.
Change the photo. And
then after that, we'll start rotating some of my art through there, so you guys can see some of the cool pictures that I have. Okay, thanks for that. You're on. So with that, I really appreciate you guys showing up. Again, send your questions in, your comments. We love to hear about it. You guys are awesome. This is turning out to be far better than I ever expected it to be, and it's all because of you guys. So we'll just keep it up, and next week it's going to be tires. Obviously, is going to be a topic, but then again, send questions in, and I'll build what I'm talking about around your questions, along with tires. So until next week, stay safe. I know spring is here. It's hard to stay inside, but go for a drive. Just keep your windows rolled up and don't talk to anybody. I think is the best thing to do. So again, love you guys. I'll see you next week. So take care and send in.